Okay, so after the big earthquake happens, you head back into Dusk Haven, into the main town, and they tell you that the water is still rising, and they can see it rising already, and so they want you to go, and they want you to go rescue more people before the water rises and overtakes the town. And once you've gone and done that and helped a bunch of people back into town, they say, okay, it's your turn, and they throw you on a horse, and you go up to the Gray Maine estate. And that leads us into the next part.
The Gray Maine estate is sexy looking. And all of the stained glass windows and the, enormous vaulted ceilings. And it was beautiful. I like, one of my favorite things about getting into a new expansion is that they always introduce the new architecture, so you have new building layouts and stuff like that. And so the Gray Maine estate layout was just fabulous looking. I mean, you could go out and onto the verandas, and there's all these staircases that go all these different places. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the first things I noticed after I got dropped off at the Gray Maine estate was those really cool carriages sitting outside. I was like, dude, I hope that's our mount, because that would be really, really cool.
Oh yeah, those carriages were awesome with all their lanterns and all the filigree and everything. It was very Victorian, very awesome. I love it.
Alright, so the next part in the progression while you're at the Gray Maine estate is you go up and you find the king, and he's sitting up looking out his telescope out at sea and out at the town, and he lets you look in the telescope as well, so you can see all the Forsaken ships and the big gunship off of shore. And you also notice that the town of Dusk Haven that you were just in previously is now underwater. And from there, he tells you that the Gray Maine estate is way too exposed, and so it's time to evacuate the people again. And so you hop in one of these awesome carriages, and you start heading out back towards the city of Gilneas.
And of course they can't make it just that simple out towards the city. They have you, of course, come upon a carriage that has been ambushed and wrecked, and you have to help them defend themselves against the ogres and the Forsaken that are coming, and leads you into a quest where you pit the ogres against the Forsaken to get them out of it.
But once all is said and done, you end up going to the next little town area that is under attack by spiders. Why spiders? I don't know. It's just under attack by spiders. And so you try and help the town and figure out, one of the ladies there wants you to find some pages of a diary. And so you put those together, and that gives you a clue that something's going on up at the mill. Some people in this town had also turned into Worgen, and they went up to find help at the mill for some reason. And so you go up there, and that's when you first run into a night elf who is there to help you. And she sends you out into the middle of a forest where there's a giant tree with night elf design on it, and inside there you find a bunch of Worgen druids. And it's really there, I won't give away too much information about it, but it's there that you find out about the Worgen, how they came to be, and how it ties into the night elves and the druids.
It is also there that you get your human form back.
And there really isn't any purpose to the human form, except that it's, more aesthetically pleasing at times.
Yeah, the only qualm that I have with the human form is that if it works the way I'm assuming it does, is that you don't choose what your human form looks like. You choose what your Worgen form looks like, and based on whatever you pick as a Worgen, it translates to your human form, kind of like the druid forms with the color of their skins. Depends on their hair or whatever. So that was, when I found out that I was a bald guy, I wasn't terribly pleased.
I don't know, I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, once I got the top hat, that made it all better, so.
Alright, the next thing, once you've learned how to control the beast within, and you can switch between human and Worgen forms. You were then notified that the king has been kidnapped. He went to some of the northern lords that controlled another part of Gilneas, and he was going to them for support and for help, but it turns out they betray him, and so you sneak in there and you kill the lords in order to save the king. One of the really cool things I liked about this quest was coming across the herds of sheep. It was really kind of silly, but I really enjoyed in Grizzly Hills in Northrend seeing those herds of roaming horses. I thought it really added well to the feeling of the area. So it was kind of cool to see the roaming sheep.
Yeah, nothing like Elwyn where you have a sheep here and a sheep there wandering around the forest, which is a little bizarre if you think about it. But it was like they were herding sheep. It was like big, giant herds of sheep. Of course, we killed them all because that's what you do when you see critters, is you kill them.
So once you've rescued the king, you find out that the Forsaken have moved into the city of Gilneas. And now that everyone's safe from the Cataclysm, the focus is now to try and retake the city of Gilneas. And so you do some quests to gather some food and supplies and people so that you can then go to the city and retake it from the Forsaken. And this is a lot like the Battle for the Undercity in that you need to follow the leaders and, you have this buff that makes sure you don't die. And at the end of your long trek through the city, destroying everything in your path, you find Sylvanas.
Yay for the Banshee Queen! I mean, boo, Banshee Queen, get out of my city!
Right, exactly. And it's really funny to see her getting owned by like a horde of level 11s. Maybe a level 12 in there.
Hey, I don't know, there was that level 82 mage that came the first time. I don't know if she was there the second time.
So, once you attack Sylvanas, she kills the Prince of Gilneas, who jumped in the way of her arrow in order to save his father. And you spend the rest of this section of the quest line following the Banshee Queen and finding out why the Horde is here, why they're trying to take the Forsaken lands, and also trying to find a way to get vengeance for the death of the prince. Eventually, you find out that Garrosh does not want Sylvanas to use the plague, but she's totally going to do it anyway, because that's just the way she is. I'm so glad they stuck with her character that way. And so you go on a bombing run, you destroy the plague wagons, and then you escape out of the city with the rest of the citizens through a secret tunnel full of rats.
And you have to scare them away with your bright light, because rats don't like bright light.
Once you escape the city, you spend some time at the cemetery saying sorry to the dead for trampling the graveyard, and then you head off to the coastline where the Night Elves have ships and are covering our retreat, and they're offering the citizens of Gilneas safe haven in the Night Elf lands. And so for the final quest lines in this area, they're all focused around saving as many people as we can and trying to cover the retreat of the Night Elves and the people of Gilneas.
You finally get to see the Night Elf glaive throwers in action. You see them sitting around all over the place in Ashenvale and all these different Night Elf areas. You see all these glaive throwers just sitting there, but you never actually know what they do. They look maybe like a catapult, maybe like a cannon, you're not sure. They're glaive throwers and they freaking rock.
Well, those of us who don't PvP got to see what the glaive throwers are like.
Hey, just because I don't PvP doesn't mean you have to say anything.
Alright.
Don't be hating, don't be hating.
Alright, so the final battle in the Worgen starting zone is anticlimactic right now because the final quest isn't working correctly, but eventually you're going to go blow up one of the Horde's big warships so that you can escape on the boat to the Ruthven village. But right now there's just a captain placeholder type dude there.
Well, yeah, but right now it's kind of funny because you, at level 12, by your lonesome, go out and blow up something that it takes 10 geared level 80s to destroy right now in ICC.
Yep, Worgen Rock.
You destroy it all by yourself.
So that is where we stopped in our travels in beta today, and we will be picking it up with goblins in our next webisode. So that is all for this webisode. Please feel free to ask questions about beta using the comment section below, and we will do our best to get some of them answered.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you can stay current with what's going on in the Cataclysm beta.